you're right, the one that wanted
Shit,
to
I
do
didn't bring
it.
it. Just figured it was conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's 6:15. We will begin our special finance meeting. Discuss
Finances.
revenue,
The thought
revenue generation.
I see that.
Well, the tax rate.
Exactly. More of
What
a
else?
round table.
Yeah.
So we would have,
I think
it's
the
all
late,
long, so we can't round table it.
So long.
I think, the latest information that I got as far as what changes, you know, what dollar amounts would be generated at different percentages and such. I think I shared that all with you sometime last year, and it hasn't been updated yet because I don't think the tax department's to the point yet where they can use 2015 numbers.
Didn't she say she needed to get into July?
That's what she said, yeah.
But I think she's, sorry about that, getting a better feel for what.
Yeah. So, I guess for tonight, let's talk first about the concept of putting a tax increase on the ballot in the spring of 2017. More than anything, with House Bill 5's impact coming down the pike, and the fact that we don't know exactly how bad that impact is gonna be, but we know it's gonna be negative, I feel as though we need to put it on in the spring of 17. Because we're gonna start, Jake, am I correct in thinking that that begins to get phased in 18?
Yes.
So, we're gonna start seeing that impact.
The next gubernatorial's gonna come to, yeah, you're right.
Does, you all know the finances, you all see the budgets, you all know where we're at and how we're spending is so close to what we're bringing in. You all know that we haven't hardly been able to buy a dump truck lately. What do you guys think about putting an increase on the ballot in 17, spring of 17?
I don't think we have a choice. Just need to know what percent.
And the other thing is.
Brian, what do you think?
Well, we discussed this more than one occasion, and, I mean, it's apparent by the red ink of the budget that, if we don't do something, people are gonna, feel the difference in services and all kinds of things, as you have no other choice than the other than to start cutting in those areas. I mean, you've already cut them down as far as you can when you look at our staffing, and, look at where we're putting into capital improvements, and I know it's a difficult thing to sell sometimes and try to explain to the citizens, but I can certainly see the need to try to figure out where we're gonna find some more revenue, to put back into the city.
Mhm.
When it comes to the services and our infrastructure and all that. And I know we built this industrial park out here, and I think we did a great thing there, and, we're seeing some of the benefit, I think, from that, based on my opinion, on when you look at our profit tax collections. But now that this is gonna change where they can carry over your loss every year for what, up to 3 years now?
5.
5 years, so when people are gonna start carrying their loss over, all these things are gonna trickle down to us, and we're gonna feel that, even the citizens are gonna feel that. So, yeah, I don't know where else we're gonna get it. So, you asked me how I feel about it, and yeah, I would certainly support it, because I personally don't know where else we're gonna find some more funding unless somebody's got a better idea. I mean, it's, I don't know. Where we look.
Yeah.
Mark,
You on board?
Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
the thing of it is, I think we all need to be totally committed and do the best that we can to inform the people just what's involved. I think that's our biggest thing.
Jeff?
Yeah, it's not a question of whether, the question is what's the percentage and what's the credit for outside, people who work outside the city, that kind of thing. That's really the nuts and bolts of it. And I'd like to see the numbers for various options
Okay.
and its impact revenue. So that, I'm fully supportive of an increase. I'm just not sure exactly the mechanics of the percentage yet,
Okay.
or the credit.
Okay. I'll get that information for next week's, finance committee meeting. I'll go back, look at what Kim had sent me from breakdown from using the numbers from the year before, and just use that. Let's talk about, do we, on the ballot, target any of this money? And I guess when I say that, what I'm talking about is, I know that the city of Newark put on their ballot, I think a year or two ago, a 0.25% increase, which would have taken them from 1 3/4% to 2 for street paving. And Tim, do you recall it was like paving and maintenance or something like that? It was, because didn't Brian
Yes.
work on all the different kind of streets that they could get done over a period of time with new revenue?
But it was like curb, sidewalk, pavement, maintenance, I mean, it was kinda like all encompassing of things, and some people had a little trouble with some of the wording and stuff, but, you know, you don't wanna tie your hands and just say certain thing, because then you don't have money to do all the other stuff you have to do,
Yeah.
you know, that's tied with it
Yeah.
and stuff.
I think the key would be,
But
with the ballot language, is keep it open enough that you can do multiple things with it, but keep it in line with, to say, we need street, you know,
Yeah.
to hit the
Have a focus to get
specifics,
their attention.
but don't limit it so much to where
Yeah.
it's only,
Yeah.
our streets look fine, you guys catch us now, okay, I get that.
We
But-
need dump trucks, we need a
Yeah.
lift truck.
Has
Well,
to have variables
And
to it.
guess what? We put this road through, we're gonna need people. We barely have enough street department people to hang on to by our fingernails
Yeah.
with the work that they're doing right now.
They can't hardly get that Durapatcher out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
that's true. If it's
They
not
can't.
for the summer.
I mean, the fact is, you know, we're gonna need to, we'll need manpower too.
Yeah.
You do the cop on the road.
Oh.
Maybe 2. Something like
Jeez,
that.
it'd be nice if we could have at least a couple more. And that's not, yeah. Tim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't like sometimes putting in language where it's, you know, a certain percent of a certain dollar amount has to go here, here, and here, because then later on, if you put too much in it, then you can't spend it, and you don't have any, so it's, you know,
Yeah.
but yet, you don't wanna do the old, oh, we're gonna allocate this much money for here, but then the money we used to give there, we're not gonna give them, and so essentially, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you wanna do
Yeah.
that. But for years, you know, we haven't been really putting money in capital improvements.
Not at all.
Okay, and so, and we've kind of been doing a lot with matches and everything else, we've been real fortunate to get away with doing
Yep.
that. But it's almost like we need to go back to where we put in so much for capital improvements, which the capital improvements would do the paving and buying
A lot of
the
stuff.
trucks and
Yeah.
equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you would have it, and not change that formula for a while until you build up, you know, if we got fortunate and build up a, you know, a nest egg in there or something.
Yeah.
But I hate to just, you know, flat out say, oh, we're gonna, 0.5% income tax, and it's gonna go for this.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it starts coming in and everything, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we can't spend it.
All of a
'cause the
sudden,
language
this
says-
bucket's overflowing,
We
and
have
you got
nothing
these
over
other
here.
buckets still that don't have
Yeah,
anything
we
in
can
them.
buy trucks and stuff, but we can't put any employees in them, you know, we can, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we have money for trucks, money for
Yeah.
paving, money for everything, but no employees to go in them.
That's a good point. That's a
You
good
know,
You
point.
just have to market and public relations and do the outreach in the community without all the
Biggest
specific
thing of it is,
language.
So, I mean, I think as I look at what the needs are of the city, but also what I think the community values most, I think we're talking street department. I think we're talking police. As I look at it, those are the two, to me, easy targets for additional revenue. You know, Jeff's right. We need more officers. I mean, look, we have a drug problem in this community, as in just about every community in this country, that is just out of control, ridiculous. And add on top of that the fact that there's nowhere near enough mental health support systems in Licking County, which then they all end up becoming somehow a problem with the police department. Our cops are dealing with people that 20, 25 years ago were getting assistance in some sort of a group home setting or something like that, you know? We need more officers on the street.
Mark, I think the biggest thing is that once we decide what it'll be.
And that's not to say that people don't like wastewater too. They appreciate it when they flush the toilet and they don't see it again, Dick. I'm not trying to, you know.
Wastewater
Okay.
can take, we got our own rates, we
We
can
pay for that
do that.
separately.
Yeah.
Water and wastewater, we can do that.
And I'd like to see it where you can actually put those cameras on every cop, if we could find the money for that. I think that's vitally important to defend our own uniformed police officers in court of law when the contention is police brutality, we can defend
Yeah.
with a camera.
Yeah.
And defend the quality of uniformed officers we have. You go everywhere around this country, and it's just, police have a very tough job. And most of them are not willing to really want to do their job anymore because they don't have anybody supporting them. They don't
Our
have
starting
any-
salaries for police are not competitive right now in the contract. They're not. It's something we're gonna have to correct in the next contract, which will
We
be
raised it in the last contract.
not starting.
I thought we did. We didn't?
I don't think we did.
I thought we raised the starting, because you said we weren't competitive, and that was one.
We did, Mark.
Yeah,
Did
we
we?
did,
I think you're right.
yeah.
You're right,
Yeah.
Deb.
Yeah.
That's a good
Starting
point.
part of
It
it.
wasn't a lot, but it
Oh,
was,
okay.
it was a little.
I think the
It was a
other
little.
end of it, we didn't do, but I think the starting
Did we?
salary, we can't.
And I think a couple of
I
times
hope-
they adjusted it, you know, where they have to take on extra duties, you know, to compensate them for those two short periods of time.
What-
Go ahead, Doug.
Like I say, the commitment that has to be there, that we need to make sure that we put together things that show the people that this is the need, and then try to get them, you know, we went up there one time in Forest Hills and put 300 or 350 brochures and told people there was gonna be a meeting.
I lost my cell phone and everything.
That's right, you did.
Yeah. And
At
what,
the- at the
4 people
clubhouse
showed
in
up.
their neighborhood.
Four
Yeah.
people
You weren't supposed to
showed
do
up.
more first.
And, you know, I just,
Got it back eventually.
I don't know
though.
what you
We
could do,
did.
you know, a town meeting or say, let's, please come to North, Heath High School. Come and know what's going on, just, I don't know.
You know, we've given the schools, you know, kind of way, we kept them competitive, you know, our schools, I think. you
Who's
know,
we?
Huh?
Who's we? You say we have
City-
kept them.
the
Who's
city,
we?
you know.
Oh, okay.
Not the city.
Tax
The people,
payers.
down here,
taxpayers.
but- And I think, you know, Chris Myers, you know, the new guy you hired back, he and I was talking the other day, and you know, you go to Granville, and then there's another section between.
Rick.
Senior.
Rick Myers.
Yeah, Rick Myers. And their tax for schools, I can't remember, it's right close to this side, might be Pickerington, I'm not sure, but theirs is higher than Granville. And my house, I think I pay $1,200, right around $1,200 a year taxes. And in Granville, my friend that lived over there 10 years ago, he was paying $5,000 on a house less, that was not as good as mine.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I-
we would look to do an income tax.
Yeah, I know,
mean,
and, but I think
it wouldn't
our
be
people
property.
need to know stuff like that, you know, that they're paying a lot less tax than the communities around us, even in.
Newark right now is at what, 1 3/4, Jay? Okay. And we're at 1.5. Let me, go ahead, Ryan. Yeah, you, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, you guys were discussing about reaching the people, and it's probably getting the cart ahead of the horse here, but you can have all town hall meetings you want in different locations. You gotta make it convenient for them, and I'm not saying the meeting's probably most convenient for a lot of people, because they're gonna go, I don't know, we're gonna sit down for the meeting. And we've seen that, I mean, this right here, just get it in paper, get it in front of them, the water bill, well, we can't use the water bill, that's right.
No.
But we gotta just put it right and make it convenient, here it is, it's on your door, please read it.
Yeah.
The media, let the media hopefully work for us, and not turn things on us too much.
If they have a question, they'll ask, if they see it.
But you can't
And then
do
open the
that.
door up here, say, hey, look, we're gonna have an open meeting at City Hall, and give them plenty of opportunities, we're gonna have 4 of them, and here's the dates, come to them.
I'm almost maybe a little more cynical than you are, Brian. I almost feel like you have to present the alternative.
Right.
That would be more effective. You know, we talk about street department. If we don't get some more money available to us to put into capital improvements, to be able to buy equipment like in the street department, we're simply not going to be able to plow. We will not have the plows available to us to which to plow the roads with in the winter. We're not going to have the equipment available to us to fix potholes. And that doesn't say anything about paving streets. I mean, you've heard me say to Bob before, I want information. How many streets can you pave over the next 10 years based on, you know, the little that we have now?
175,000 every 2 years.
That's right. And how much can we pave over the next 10 years if you had another $500,000, you know, dedicated each year toward paving? And I know that he and Chris Lawson, I mean, they're working on trying to get that information together. I think that's what's powerful. I think if you live on, you know, such and such a street, and you look at it, and you see the cracks that are in the street right now, and then you look at something that we've handed out, some flyer, something like that, that says, gosh, you know, I could get this addressed, I could get this fixed in a few years if I support this, compared to no prayer in the world of having it addressed if we don't.
And I agree with you, that's not what I meant, I mean, I agree with you totally, that you gotta tell, look, here's unfortunately what you're gonna see diminishing even more and more. I mean, I'm okay with that. What I'm saying though is have a meeting up at Forest Hills in the golf club, you just have 5 people show up. To me, it's almost an inconvenience to them to show up. And
Yeah.
if we can just get the paper to them and say, here, please read it, just read down through here, have the meetings, yes, but instead of having one at the country club or at the golf course and one at the fire station, just say, we're gonna have open public meetings, these dates to come in and talk to us about it. And then if they're there, you can address some of these pros and cons at the same time. So.
You can't be afraid to go, get on the pavement, get out of your car, start banging on doors. You gotta have a concerted effort to do one-on-ones.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm the first to tell you that there are some people in here too, like yourself, that we work full-time jobs, and to think that we can go out and beat on doors 8 hours a week, that's not possible for me, because there's no way. I do all I can, but at the same time,
But it's a combination of those things, and I think
Yes.
having the visibility and eyeball-to-eyeball contact, that demonstrates just how serious we are. We're not just gonna throw some stuff in an envelope.
Yeah.
Expect you to.
or say we're gonna have a
With-
meeting at the country club, come on over, because they're not gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we need to get some citizens involved too, concerned citizens,
Right.
Uh-huh.
because they have a bigger voice than we do.
I
We're
agree totally.
politicians, and I think that
Yeah.
I
the neighbors
agree.
are gonna listen to them. If we get some.
You helped out with the last one, didn't you? Weren't you passing out flyers and stuff like that? I remember that.
And I was thinking, as I sit here and listen, I think that we don't wanna pigeonhole ourselves too much, but I think we have to have some focus so people can see what it's about, and I'm thinking about.
So that they can see how they will directly
Right,
benefit
exactly.
by the increased
Exactly.
investment that they're
Exactly.
making in their
Because
community.
I'm thinking if you made it about capital improvements, equipment, those kinds of things, and we covered everything out of that, wouldn't that free up some money for some staffing? Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes when people look at, you're gonna bring on people, well, they saw somebody in a city truck that wasn't doing anything for 5 minutes, so we don't need to, there's always gonna be those people that are gonna talk about the negative things. So,
Yeah.
I think if you can focus it on things tangible things that I can see that are gonna benefit.
That you're gonna use
You know, the,
every
Yes.
day.
the thing of it
Yes.
is too, you look at
And
the
then you still get
number.
the staffing by doing that.
Look at the number of people who live in Greenburg. And just imagine what it would cost to do, and these people have to realize that they live there, their curbs, their gutters, the daggone paving is a mess.
Yeah.
And what would it cost? It probably cost $1 million or more to go in there and do that the way it's supposed to be done. And those
Yeah.
people, look how many people live in just that area.
But how
Look
many
at the
are
people live up
registered?
in River Oaks, and that hasn't been paid for,
Hasn't
what,
been paid since it was
22
put in.
years, 23 years?
Yeah.
So, those are the type of things that you need to say, people, you'll realize some things if you give us the money to.
The neighborhoods on either side of 79
Oh, yeah, yeah.
are gonna, those streets are gonna crumble.
Yeah.
I mean, the money's not there. Let me,
We're no longer a young city, we just celebrated 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's starting to show because we've got infrastructure that we've been able to maintain all in common, but with the onset of a lot of subdivisions in the last 15, 20 years that were never on our radar for repaving, now they are.
Yeah.
Whoa, we just increased the road miles and paving by whatever.
Yeah.
30% in the city, we don't have 30% revenue to support the increase of that. That's what-
Ronnie, did you want to say something?
You know, if somebody knocked on my door, what I would ask first is, how many different sources of income do you have? And what are your options? You know, that's,
Good.
you know, ever since Reagan, we've shifted the tax burden from the corporations and the upper, you know, the 1% or upper 5% down to the poor and the middle class. And I just wonder, you know, this is going to affect somebody that's working at McDonald's. This is going to affect somebody that works, you know, Burger King or
Yeah.
Walmart. And what are we doing as far as business? What are we doing in industry? What are we doing? What are our other options? And we give tax breaks to people comes in, you know, to businesses that can't come in, don't we?
Property tax abatements.
And see,
The
But
only
we get-
payroll tax credit that we have given in the city was to Experion,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, what was it, 50% of their payroll tax credited back for just a 5-year period of time, whereas a CRA, a property tax abatement, is 100% for 15 years. So relatively speaking, it's much less, longer period of time.
These companies need to understand that, for instance, me, I haven't had a kid in school for 20 years, but I gladly pay my school taxes because somebody needs to educate these children because they're our future. Now, these companies, we're paying to educate these kids to work at their company. You know, those companies use our roads that we're paying for to haul our products on. You know, all this, you know, the tax burden shouldn't rest on just the bottom, you know, part of us, the poor and the middle class.
And the thing that I say too is, when you talk property tax, the age of the people in Heath are older. And we
Yeah.
are on a fixed income to where they stick you with more on property tax. Your money doesn't go up, it takes it out, so you're
Yeah.
less. So property tax is the last thing that, you know.
I'm just
Yeah.
speaking as the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
that
No,
if you come and
please.
knocked on my door, that's what I'd be asking you. You know,
Uh-huh.
that's-
I can assure you from a business aspect that what we pay in payroll taxes to help fund whatever's gonna be left of Social Security is incredible amount, like 25%. And then what we have to pay for Obamacare now that we don't even use because it's not worth having. So I don't know, you know, and I probably shouldn't even spoke up, but from a business aspect, there's nothing left to get from me. I can tell you what, we do everything we can just to pay the payroll, you know. When you look at me running a business down the street that we've had for almost 3 years, and maybe it's poor management, but 3 years now, and me as an owner and another owner hasn't taken one dime out of the place. You know, I don't know. For me, I'm the last guy who's gonna say the business got any more to give, because I give them all I got, so, sorry.
Well, you know, I think Ronnie, to kind of bring his thought down to even just a more local scale. And this is probably something that we need to communicate with the people in this effort. The state has taken this, that, the other, House Bill 5. The state has made it abundantly clear. We're no longer interested in helping you, citizens of any community in Ohio.
Exactly.
We're no longer interested in helping to provide you the services that made you decide to be here. I mean, I don't know how else you can say it other than that. What they've taken away, they're not giving back. They got $2 billion whatever in their pocket
In
right
the rainy
now,
day
and
fund.
they're not reinstating anything to the local governments.
And look at the fact that
So
they said we lowered your state income tax. We
Well,
took money away now.
yeah.
Well,
So I say that only to say this. The argument that we have to make, I think, to the community is these other sources of revenue, particularly from the state, that have for a very long time helped to provide you the quality of life in this community that you've enjoyed and that you're proud of. Those sources of revenue are not there anymore. If you want Heath to continue to be the community that it was when you were growing up or when you decided to move here, guess what? It's on us now. We're the only ones that are going to be able to determine whether or not the community continues to be a place where people want to live or not. And every community in this state is going to have to answer that fundamental question. The people that live in them are going to have to answer that fundamental question because the state's not interested.
No, and I'll tell you another thing too. This state, and I used to know them by heart, they don't care about the retired government people. They still tax me the same amount on the state income tax in Ohio that I paid when I was working. The same.
On your pension?
On pensions and everything.
Oh, yeah.
In Tennessee, if
Really?
I stayed in Tennessee, I don't pay one
Holy
penny of
cow.
tax.
No,
If I stayed in the
'cause-
state of Tennessee, where I'm from, I wouldn't have to pay a penny.
Wow.
And they do it down there, I can remember what it said, that when you get older, when you retire, you need to take that money that we're collecting and let the local community have it. And that's what they're doing. Florida's the same way.
Florida has no state tax on.
So
But they're sharing the money. They're sharing the money they're collecting from profits from these businesses and all the other revenue streams they have, and they're not hoarding. Maybe
Well-
that's what you meant, Ronnie. They're
No.
hoarding it, they're balling this all up. They need to, we're
I'm-
taking away from the municipality.
I'd like to clarify, I wasn't talking about a business such as yours, you know, I'd group you in with us. I'm talking about these big corporations
Boy.
that pay, you know, nothing in taxes. You know, or they get money back from rebates that after not paying taxes. GE and I think Boeing's one of them, and Verizon, and there's different ones, but there's a bunch of them that pay no taxes.
well, I mean,
That's what I-
Boeing pays taxes to us.
Damn it up.
I mean, their payroll income tax, Boeing's the biggest employer we got in the city.
Okay, I'm not talking about income tax, I'm talking about
Oh.
federal.
But they put back the infrastructure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, next week, let's talk a little bit about, and like I said, I'll get the information that Kim had given me before about the breakdown, based on those numbers from a couple of years ago or whatever. And we'll start taking a look at, you know, what would a 0.5% generate? What would a 1/4% generate? And let's talk too about the idea of credit, of the credit, whether or not we increase the credit, if we do, by how much. And if there's any other, I mean, we talked about street, we talked about police. I didn't really hear a lot of, you know, I don't think it's gonna. So I mean, those might be two areas where we can, on the ballot, indicate to people where we're looking to target some of this stuff. but some of the new revenue. But if there's anything else on that ballot language that would make it more appealing to the voters, so that they understand, if you're asking me to make a greater investment in my community, what am I getting out of it? If there's anything else that you guys can think of, let's talk about that too next week.
Mark, the word, like Tim said, capital improvements, of earmarking some, specific amount to go to capital improvements to where we have the money to buy the dump truck and other things that are needed. Police, a couple police guys, and I think that needs to be looked at as far as where it goes. I just really
Okay.
agree with Tim on that one.
Okay.
I think the top of the list has gotta be street maintenance.
Pardon?
The street maintenance has gotta be the top of the list, and then
Oh.
police is second, because for 40 years, we've been the envy of Licking County for street maintenance.
Absolutely.
Quality of the streets, how we
Yeah.
maintain them. You go to the corporation loan, you start laughing because, oh my God, I must have left Heath, or I just entered Heath because it's some night and day in February. That's something to be proud of, and you don't
Yeah.
mind, because you can see something for your dollar. And that's the one service that, Joe Lunchbox, that goes from his kitchen to his paycheck, there's one service he's gonna use every day to get there. And it's not the parts, and it's not making a 911 call, it's.
Hopes.
He hopes, okay? But he's gonna use quality of streets to get to his paycheck, so he can maintain his living and pay those bills. If he has quality streets to get to his paycheck from his living room, that's a service he can be supportive of, in my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
More so than any other service that we provide. Simple as that.
One thing that I think needs addressed, because these are all good, but we've got to eliminate reason for people to vote no. And specifically, how we treat the voters from the employees of the city of Heath. Because people will look for a reason to vote no. And if I get a snotty ass person on the phone, I'm voting no. And
Yeah, you're left with a negative impression.
Yeah. You can tell people no, but there's two ways to tell them no.
What do you think, Dick?
I agree. There's a.
Well,
That's enough, no more. You said it all.
Hey, he's happy. He's got.
Let me elaborate, Dick.
No, attitude is a lot. You're right, Dick. Yeah. With employees, council, and everybody. I agree.
Driving down the street and a city truck pulls in front of me, just puts me off. I mean, I'm not talking to me, but, well, if that's what they're gonna do, or they've gotta be aware of 3 people at a job, 1 working and two standing. Now, I understand, there's a reason, but you have to go with the concept of it.
There's a lot of guys in my age group, I'll vote for it because I don't pay income tax except what I make here at the city.
Wow,
And I've talked to these guys and they said, you don't need no more money to waste over there. And I said, how do you say when we waste money? They can think of 1,000 ways, but none of them holds water, but they still use it.
Tim?
I'd be curious, Mark, and I don't know whether Kim could tell you this or not, but I'd be curious how many actual people live in Heath and work in Heath that pays income tax, okay?
Okay.
As compared to the people that live in Heath and work outside of Heath and still pay the 0.25% income tax.
Yeah.
And then how many people don't live in Heath but pay, that work in Heath?
Yeah.
Okay, there's kind of
Yeah,
four pots.
that's paying the payroll tax.
Because essentially, we have like 10,000 people that live in Heath or so, but we only have like 6,000 some odd, I think, actual voters or something like that, if they all would vote, which they don't. But of those voters, the number like Cleta said, that are retired, that don't have an income that is taxable. So if they voted yes, it wouldn't affect their, you know.
Right.
And then the people that live in Heath, that work in Heath would affect them the most because they'd raise the most.
Yeah.
But if you live in Heath and work somewhere else, and if you change the credit where it didn't change it, or if it only went half as much, or whatever, however we do it, it won't cost you much. You know, you could almost have the votes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Essentially, what we're going to end up doing, the most people who's going to pay are the people that live outside Heath that come in here and work every day. They're just going to go up, and they don't really have a chance to vote on it one way or the other.
Taxation without representation.
You know, and stuff. But
Yeah.
but they get
The
all the
American
services
way.
of
I-
being
the
here.
American way.
I would
And they
have
get
to,
the job. You know.
I would have to, we'd have to ask him whether or not, I mean, you're asking for an actual number of people. I will have to ask Kim if she can do that. I
Or
do know that
dollar
Kim,
amount.
well, Kim can do that.
Or the dollar amount,
Because
you
in the
know.
chart, I mean, think of the chart that I've given you guys before.
Yeah.
She breaks down, you know, here's how much, and I'm just pulling numbers out of thin air, they're not real. At a 1/8% tax increase, that's gonna generate another $500,000. With an 1/8% increase in the credit, that's gonna equate to $200,000, right? So the numbers, and I understand what you're saying, and that could maybe help be a compelling argument with people if you can break it down for me, the actual number of people, number of taxpayers. We'll have to see whether or not Kim can do that. But she can give us the dollars of here's what the increased rate would bring you in revenue, here's what the increased credit is as far as dollars then that you're not capturing because you're given the credit. She can do that based on the tax data that she has. So maybe she can get the numbers.
The question came through in an email not too long ago. Remember, you saw that, and they wanted it differentiated more to what you wanted to see. And they can answer a couple of your questions, not all of them. I know that. I still have the email that I'll send you. That will kind of help even answer your question before we even get to next Monday.
You know, so, I mean, it's coming up on 7, and we'll talk about this again next week, and the week after that, or whatever, and you know, I feel strongly like we need to do this, we need to get whatever we need passed, we need to start hitting the streets and talking about it. But just take a look around this room. If you added up everybody that we all know, just the people that are in this room, if you added up everybody that we all know in the city and had conversations with them about why this is important, about how this community is coming to the crossroads, and we need to decide what kind of community we're going to be moving forward. Each of us personally, there's no doubt in my mind, could impact a significant block of voters.
And that's what we want. Not that we aren't going to change the negatives.
Yeah,
They're going to vote
5%
no.
they're gonna vote no,
We need to
they're gonna
go
vote
get
no.
the positives to vote.
That's right. I agree with you. I agree.
And then improve our odds, maximize our odds to make it most passable. That's all we're looking for. It's got to pass. With whatever metrics
And
you use.
wording is gonna be
Whatever the-
everything,
Yeah.
of how we put it on a ballot, so that it's not.
You keep thinking as the
Jumble.
devil's advocate because, like Dick said, those are the kind of things that we're going to need to address as well.
I was just gonna say, I come to the meetings, I know we need money. I mean, there's no doubt. I know we need additional revenue. And I don't have to be convinced. But I can also, thinking like a devil's advocate, I can think of a bunch of questions that I could ask. You know, what do we do before we had the license tax? What, you know, when was there a time when we had money to put in capital improvement, and what has changed since? That's what you need to convince the voters of.
I think it's most
Say,
convinced.
this
Yeah.
Convince people that Rockwell's
Yeah.
not here with 3,000
See-
people, that Kaiser's not here with
Well-
1,800.
But we've got a lot of
With almost
a lot of other
4,000.
businesses.
Boom.
Also consider the elimination of the estate tax.
Right.
Yeah.
The tangible personal property tax, all those little things went away very quietly.
And the local government sharing.
Our little
the
fact
local
sheet.
Government fund is,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think.
But no, I think what you're saying is get this out in
Right.
front of people.
If you wanna list
Explain to them, hey, why are we here at this point?
We
Well, here's
know
a
it.
reason.
We
If you want a list of
understand it.
questions, I can give them to you.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
We're gonna get them, so I think it's important. It's
Yeah.
gonna help us prepare for.
It's-
And Deb,
I
you're
think a little
right.
fact sheet would be nice.
Community committee on this.
Yes.
I mean, we gotta have it. And we all know people that are very well respected in this community, who are supportive of it, who want Heath to continue to be the place where people want to live in Licking County, and they will help. They will help and they will influence big groups of people themselves. All we gotta do is ask them. Ask them to help.
Yeah.
You know, a huge number is going to be administration of our school. As supportive as the city's been of the school administration, it's time that we ask them.
Well, they were the last time.
I know, but this is
Yeah.
an issue.
I mean, there's-
They need to be all in on it.
Yeah.
And if they-
Trevor Thomas and I think we are, we both totally see this the same way. I think in order to have a strong city, you gotta have a strong public school system. And in order to have a strong public school system, you gotta have a strong city.
Kind of what you're saying, Mayor, what I'd like to see as taxpayer is, I wanna see how much taxes brought in from people that work in the city, maybe not live in the city.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because they're here working and they're using our resources.
Yep.
I wanna see that percentage and how much that, raising that tax will
Yeah.
help us.
I bet you that's a vast majority.
Yeah.
When you consider the credit that we give to people that live but work outside the
Yeah.
city,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the vast majority of money, payroll income tax money that we collect, I'm sure the vast majority of it comes from people who don't live in the community, but enjoy the services that enable them to have the jobs in the community, enable them to be able to get here for their jobs, all those kind of things.
Well, we gave them a job in the first place. I mean, the economic development efforts that we have made in the city allow them to have a job,
Yeah.
period.
For all the years that I lived in Newark and worked at Rockwell, look, I had no problem with that money going to the city, being taxed. I had a great job, it was a good place, just didn't happen to live in Heath. I think,
You know what, Dixon, a while ago, that happened big time when the Air Force Base first started. The guys out there would say, hey, how do we benefit? And the guy then says, none of your business,
Mhm.
and that's the wrong thing to say,
Yeah, yeah.
It left, I know one colonel, he asked us, the supervisor one time, why do you give negative stuff like that,
Yeah.
And I can't remember when it was, but it turned around, I think it was about the time Karen Broyles and, Max Bouchon when they come in, they begin to turn things around, and nowadays it's totally different.
Well, I didn't grow up here, but I've lived here long enough to see it and to feel it, the sense of community pride that people have in Heath.
That's right.
And I think we need to tap into that. Because that's what's at risk. Okay, it's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Jay, anything
We are,
else?
No.
Thanks.
Okay, we are out of here, 7 o'clock.
That's
Adjourned.
awesome.
Why don't you have that conversation again, see if she can actually get people